All right, this is Robert Reed with Talk About It Tuesday with Flint ReCAST, and we're back with another exciting episode. This one I'm really looking forward to, and of course, Flint ReCAST is all about resiliency in communities after stress and trauma. What we do is we aim to assist high-risk youth and families by supporting the recovery and rebuilding of Flint's vibrant community. In short, we look to cultivate change, work with partners to collaborate, and reshape the narrative surrounding Flint. So we want to improve behavioral health, empower community residents, reduction in trauma, and sustain community change. So today, I'm actually joined with a powerhouse, somebody who I've had an opportunity to meet and really just been impressed with in all facets about it. So we were talking a little bit earlier about who you are and where you're from. So we have Ashnee Dunning from the Power Initiative joining us today. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. Hey. Yep. This is where you want me to talk about who I am and where I'm from.
Yeah, who are you, where you're from? Absolutely.
You know what? I am, oh goodness, I'm a lot of things and not much at all, right? I am a lover, I'm a thinker, I'm a learner, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, you know. I am a member of this village, and really I'm a little black girl from the north side of Flint. And and that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, every time I see you, you have a sidekick. Who's with you?
Man, I am the sidekick.
You're the sidekick? Okay.
That's the first thing.
All right.
So my son, Ashnee Dunning, thank you, who's giving me crackers now, right? The man with the plan. He's 1.5 years, and you know, our life really revolves around his schedule. I tell him that we are a team. Me, mommy, and daddy. Onyx, mommy, and daddy are a team. And so he comes with me most places. And really that is in homage to the strong black women in my family who came before me. I am the daughter of Michelle Renee Young, the granddaughter of Stavella Young. I am the great-granddaughter of Mariella March. And, you know, my mom was a teen when she had me, and I'm fortunate that, you know, she's just dynamic. It's just in her. It's not on her, you know. Even at a young age. And I'm even thinking about, like, my grandmother who, when she interviewed with the city of the Flint, you know, she took my mom with her. It was a whole thing. And I remember being a child and my mom telling me stories, and not even like in a nasty way or in a resentful way, just in hindsight reflecting about just the discrimination, the disrespect that she faced working at the bank as a little black, you know, a young brown queen, and then making her take her braids out and things of that sort. So when I show up in spaces like, I show up in homage to the women who sacrificed and came before me. And also I show up and I'm in homage and respect to like the women who look like me.
Right.
You know, young brown queens who are out here doing the things that they need to do for their family. So when you see me, you see them. And fortunately for me, like, the way that I show up has no impact on how I feed my family. I have a lot of privilege that way, you know, and so I take full advantage of the privilege that I have in honor of the women who don't always get to do so.
You know, I'm going to take it back because one of the things you said in the introduction was, you know, I'm the daughter of and great daughter, you know. And so I think that lineage is important to be, I just call it congruent and authentic. But I know that when communities have experienced trauma, sometimes we don't know who we are. We don't know the lineage, how we're connected. And so I know that you do that intentionally, unapologetically. And so there's power in that, right?
Absolutely.
You know, and you're a little bit about your background too. You're here from North Flint, but you talked about you have education background.
You know what's wild? So I got my bachelor. Y'all should see my son. He throwing around crackers, throwing stuff in the trash. I wish y'all had a visual for like how comical this is. Yeah, and then when he does something, of course we have to celebrate it. But so I got my my bachelor's from West. Actually, the first form of education beyond high school, I went to cosmetology school. Okay. I'm a beauty school dropout, so there's that.
Okay.
And then I got my bachelor's degree from Western Michigan University, and I did not study education. I studied business, advertising and promotion, and Spanish.
Okay.
Yes, and by the time I got near the end of my studies, I decided that, like, business in the corporate for-profit sense was not for me. I
Okay.
wasn't motivated by it, and I transitioned from working a more business-aligned job while in college to working with youth, all different types of youth, youth who had maybe committed some type of crime and were transitioning back into their own. Onyx, Yassine. Let it go. Well, I mean, I guess if you touch those buttons, it won't hurt. Young people who were transitioning from like some type of lockdown facility to regaining their freedoms, young people who were teenage parents, young people on like different ends of the behavioral spectrum. I mean, if you can get to them, go for it. Otherwise, I'm gonna let them keep going. and I was working first, second, and third shift at some point, and I really realized that my interest and my passion was youth. And so when I graduated from college, because I got my degree, I was like, I'm almost done with this, right? I'm gonna finish doing what I'm doing. I wound up applying for a lateral entry teaching opportunity in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that's how I became a teacher. I went through a program called the TNTP Academy,
Okay.
Teach Charlotte. And I was a high school Spanish teacher and basketball coach for about 5 years in Charlotte, North Carolina. So
Okay.
background in education, formally no, professionally very much so. And one of the like major influential points in me even seeing youth aside from those jobs that I told you I worked when I was in college was my time with the Children's Defense Fund Freedom Schools program. And I found them in Charlotte, North Carolina, while I was still living out my car before I was officially offered a teaching job. Where, interesting fact, my principal in North Carolina was he was from Flint.
Oh, really?
Doctor now, Curtis Carroll.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I take one of the things. I have 4 children, 3 daughters and a son, and their ages is 9, 10, 15, 17. And I noticed how you speak to your son, right? I think it's noteworthy. Could you talk a little bit about how you approach that, given your background and what you're doing?
That's my mom. She came to save the day. Thank you. Yes. Go on. Peace. Look at that. And she wasn't even supposed to come. Yeah, so I think the thing that happens with young people, right, just people in general, I think as we get older, life dumps on us and we I don't even want to say we lose a lot of the innocence that we once held. That innocence is buried under all of the stuff that people dump on us. And so part of our response as adults, I think, to that trauma, to those ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, the things that we've encountered are to transition to making a decision out of our ego, out of our sense of inadequacy, out of the feelings that we have of shortcomings, right? And part of how we interact with youth, and I think traditionally how society has conditioned us to interact with youth, is really rooted in that trauma, seeing them as smaller people. They're not small people. They're big people in little bodies. Scientifically, children are smarter than us. Between the age of 0 and 3 is when a young person forms this capacity for dendrite snaps for the rest of its life. The capacity that my son has to learn is exponentially. It's exponentially sharper than me. He is more brilliant than I could ever be, right? And that is the perspective I have for my son, and also like for everyone's child. That's the perspective that we carry in the work that we do, in the spaces that we do it. And so for me, I have made a commitment, right, to show up in honor of him and to teach him tools along with my husband, his father, that he'll need to navigate through life as a man, as a dynamic Black man with privilege and with power. And as he is going through that learning, right, it is my job to create safe spaces to ensure that those safe spaces are safe for him as he builds his capacity to do that for himself. So when I show up with my son, I expect people to see him as an individual, and I work to challenge the bias that I have every day, right, to do the same.
Yeah, that's powerful. there's one quote that lives in my head. It says, children don't lack capacity, they just lack teachers. And sometimes we're so bogged down by just the cares of the world and responsibilities that we don't take the time to be where we are, right? Wherever you are, just be there, right? Fully. And so that level of awareness gives him an opportunity to develop and grow in confidence. And I can tell you, looking at myself, I went to the University of Michigan, and I went to the University of Michigan in the 90s, right? Right before they got rid of affirmative action, like that whole move with Ward Carnley. I just remember going to hear him speak, and I'm just sitting here looking at this gentleman who had benefited from affirmative action, traveling across the country to shut it down, and it was just beyond me, the forces that were there. But I bring that up because my experience in college was when I got there in '96. I would pinch myself and be like, wow, I'm really here. I made it. And then I would go take a test, and I would sit down. And before I could even get to the coursework or even think about what I was doing, I was mentally cycling through and processing and validating myself. I do belong here. I'm supposed to be here. You know what I mean? And all the stuff now that I realize was just from ACEs, childhood trauma. But I would always learn the stuff I was supposed to learn really after the class was over. It was almost like that delay. I wasn't, and then I kind of pointed directly to confidence. If I was able to have more of a connection to, this is who I am, and this is where I come from, and I can show up knowing that I always have a support system, because my experience moving through the world, I know I'm a face some adversaries and some forces that are out there, but at the same time, just being able to have sense of self and confidence, especially in the classroom, goes a long way.
Yeah. Perception is reality. If we can conceive it, we can achieve it. Faith, what is faith?
Faith is the evidence of things unseen, right? Something like that. I was trying to get the exact verse, but it's in there.
It's in there. Something like that.
Yeah. But he has just a special brightness. So, just kudos to you for parenting, challenging the norm.
Yeah, I also want to uplift it. That's a lot of privilege. You know what I'm saying? Like I could, we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I could share transparently, especially in 2024. Like I experienced a lot of rejection. There was changes in, my income, right? And the privilege is like, I had a cushion. The privilege is like, I'm married to a man who don't play about me. Who, I am a kept woman. I can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth, right? That's privilege. And the nature of what we do, the team members that I have, afford me a privilege that is not typical in society, and that is not sustained by the traditional institutions in which most people are forced to work to live.
Yeah, you dropped the bar. You said I'm a kept woman.
I can't believe the word.
We're going to have a lot of comments on that one. You know what I'm saying, in today's environment.
I cannot believe it.
But again, you have a level of awareness, right? Because, being a kept woman, it's not a limit. It's actually a superpower.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
From my perspective.
It is. The way that my man shows up for me, like, it's a blessing. And this is coming from somebody who, I did not romanticize marriage or having a child. That is a person that we are responsible for forever. It did not sound like a great idea to me, right? I'm grateful and we're blessed, but I am in every evolution of our relationship, the relationship between my husband and I am just further and further aware and grateful for the privilege that he affords me.
That's awesome. I'll tell you what I'd like to do. We're going to have a part 2. We're going to have you back, right? There's a lot there, and I want to get more about the Power Initiative. So let me have you back for a brief focus on the Power Initiative. But thank you so much for joining us today.